we wanted to know specifically quite about 6 or so issues. One, the final approved budget of the supplementary 3 against actual expenditure across the programs and sub-program for both recurrent and development expenditure. The milestone achieved in the project implementation during the financial year under review, that is 2024-2025, and a compendium of projects indicating the status of each project, funded or otherwise, with a specific location of each project, a compendium of the non-financial performance per program, sub-program, indicating programs' outputs, key performance indicators, and the actual target. Also, the status of the pending bills, carryovers from the year under review, and explanation for the same. The status of court awards, contingent and liabilities arising. The total revenue generated from the government services offered by the MDS against the amount retained, that is A in A, for the defraying of the MDS expenditure in line with the Supplementary 3 Appropriation Act. And any other relevant information regarding financial year 2024-2025 implementation, and you may wish to bring to the attention of this committee. And I think that is all, and I can try to do it under 30 minutes. Then we can get into plenary from members. The mic is yours, Bwana PS.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members, for according us this opportunity to be here today. From the onset, Chair, I would want to convey that my technical team, which would be very critical in this, mainly with the PFM Act officers, are out with the National Treasury for the technical working group in Mombasa. So we shall be able to handle as much as we can, but I wanted to bring that to your attention. So, Chair, the State Department appreciates the opportunity to submit an all-inclusive status of the budget for the financial year 2024-2025 as guided by the circular issued to us dated 27th August 2025. So we shall submit this statement, Chair, with the appreciation for the continued support and cooperation that we have had from this committee and from Parliament in general. So, in accordance with the same, we shall be able to submit the estimates at the end that as given at the end of Supplementary Budget 3, looking at the additional funding and any other that may have arisen and the achievement thereof of our mandate arising from the support that we got from this committee and Parliament in terms of resource allocation. So, Chair, the highlights of this budget implementation status include the final approved budget as of Supplementary 3 against the actual expenditures across all the programs and sub-programs for both recurrent and development, the key milestones achieved in the project implementation and the compendium of funded projects. Chair, I will also give a compendium on the non-financial performance per program and sub-programs, with justification for any unmet targets, the status of the pending bills, and carryovers from the financial year 2024-2025, and the status of God awards and total revenues generated from the government services offered by the State Department in terms of A&A for defraying the ministries, the State Department's activities. Chair, on the final approved budget of after Supplementary 3 against the expenditures across all the sub-programs, within, Chair, I would want to say that the table on page 2 of the document that we supplied shows the summary of recurrent expenditure against the approved budget in 2024-2025. So, Chair, from the table, I think we can appreciate on the wages and salary contribution as given in the table, the social contribution, the use of goods and services, the grants, the social benefits, acquisition of non-financial assets, and the cross-expenditure chair, the approved budget estimates for the financial year in that particular area on recurrent expenditure was 13,121,614,212. And our cumulative expenditure chair was 13,076,699,532 with a balance of 42 million shillings, 42,914,680. When we removed the appropriation in aid, the net expenditure, the appropriation in aid is 4,320,516,259. And the accumulative expenditure on the same is the same. The net expenditure therefore, Chair, is 8,801,097,953. And the cumulative expenditure is 8.7 billion shillings, 183,273. Again, there is a net balance of 42,912,612. That is on table 1, Chair. Table 2 gives us the summary of development expenditure. Again, it is on acquisition of non-financial assets, fixed capital assets, acquisition of inventory, stock and commodities. The cross expenditure, Chair, out of the approved budget after the supplementary 3 is 7,099,358,000, and the cumulative expenditure is 7,089,632,871. So there is a net balance of 9,725,129. When we appreciate appropriation of in aid of 5,057,078,342 with an accumulative expenditure of the same on the appropriation of aid, then the net expenditure less A in A is 2,042,279,658, and the cumulative expenditure is 2,032,554,529, with a balance of 9,725,129. So, Chair, once again, the State Department utilized the allocation in various programs, sub-programs, for both recurrent and the development expenditure as shown in Table 3. Chair, I think we shall all appreciate Table 3 so that I don't go through it word by word. Chair, the grand total on the both the recurrent expenditure and development budget, the gross is 20,230,229,72,212. And on the actual expenditure, it is, Chair, 20,168,332,403. And the key milestone out of which, Chair, in project implementation in 2023-2024 is that, Chair, we were able to implement all the bottom-up economic transformation agenda projects and other projects that facilitated economic, efficient, and effective service delivery. A compendium of the funded projects is as given on Annex 1, and Annex 1 is attached to the main document. Chair, on the compendium of non-financial performance per program, sub-programs, and indicating programs output, Chair and honorable members, the State Department was able to achieve the following key milestones. In immigration services, which is a sub-program, we issued 152 e-passports, 17,429 work permits, 1,551 ETAs, and cleared 7,000,000 7.02 million Kenyan citizens and foreigners at the point of entries, and operationalized one immigration office in Garissa. Within the same, we registered 92,371 new refugees. Chair, on National Registration Bureau, we issued 2,176,309 Maisha cards, or the third generation IDs, and operationalized 62 national registration offices across the country. On civil registration, Chair, we issued 1,311,231 birth certificates, 171,424 death certificates, and developed and disseminated the Kenya Vital Statistics report for the year. We also operationalized 25 civil registration centers, digitized 1.7 million births and death records. On e-citizen, Chair, we onboarded 21,609 government services onto the e-citizen platform. On the integrated population services, Chair, we connected 48 government agencies to Maisha integrated database, mainly for know your customer services purposes. And through the automation of services, the State Department generated 15.09 billion shillings in revenues. Chair, in addition to this summary of milestones, a comprehensive list of key performance indicators has been attached in this report as Annex 2. So we go through the Annex 2, it will give us detailed report on these particular milestones. On the status of the pending bills and carryovers from 2024-2025 financial year and the explanation thereof, Chair, I would want to say that as of 30th June 2024, the State Department had pending bills and carryovers of 6,289,984,033, of which 5.892,988,654 billion arises from expenditures incurred but not paid for the financial year 2024-2025, while 396,925,000 are carryovers from the previous financial years. All pending bills are still undergoing. We have just finalized on the verification of the pending bills, and a list of the pending bills has been attached as Annex 3. These huge pending bills, I can confirm, is going to negatively affect our operations in 2025-2026 as we try to pay them while balancing the need for offering critical services in the year that we are going through. Chair, finally, the other issue, the status of awards in the financial year 24-25. We did not have any awards from the courts. Now, on the total revenue generated from government services offered by the State Department against the retained A&A for defraying the State Department services, Chair, I would want to state that the State Department was able to collect revenues through its various services, totaling 15,089 million, and out of this, 9,377 was retained to defray expenditures in the State Department, 5 billion being for development and 4.3 billion for recurring expenditure as presented in the table that has been provided as table 4 on revenue and retained A&A for the financial year 24-25. And Chair, as you can see, our most critical areas are in immigration and e-visa and casual services. We also have passport fees, work permits, other immigration fees, identity cards fees, and verification fees. Chair, on the appropriation in aid for, as already said, development was 5,057 million, and recurrent expenditure is 4.3 billion shillings, giving us a total of 9.3 billion shillings. Chair, in this particular report, as already indicated, we have attached the following annexes. We have Annex 1 and Annex 5, Annex 7 as projects. We have Annex 2 as non-financial performance reports, Annex 3 as spending bills, Annex 4 as recurrent expenditure, and Annex 5 as development expenditure. Chair, in conclusion, we would want to state that the State Department continues to acknowledge the support that you've given us, and we most sincerely appreciate this. By allocating us additional resources, the State Department was able to implement its programs and achieve the set targets in the financial year 24-25. It is our commitment to continue cooperating with the committee in all engagement, and as we go into this new year, we commit ourselves, Chair, to be able to achieve the critical milestones. More so, given that we are going towards an election, then we have to meet the expectation of Kenyans in ensuring that we issue them with the necessary identification documents that will be able to facilitate them to be able to make decisions that affects them in this country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, PS. You have really tried to cover what you needed to under the allocated time. But maybe before we pass it to members, media guys, manage your echoes. Oh, sorry. Maybe before we pass it to the members for plenary, if you wish to have one or two of your support or members to probably add something or support, reinforce what you said, but stress, you're allowed to.
The key people would have been able to give us more on that particular area are our technical teams in the PFM, and who are not available. I think I would rather we leave it at that, so that in case of questions, then the members, my team can come in.
That is fair enough. So members, maybe as we, members can take time to say clarification, maybe ask questions. And we are going to start with the vice. Then we give to Balosi Sigei. Who else has expressed interest? Okay, maybe we can take the two, and I can add also one or two questions, as maybe the rest are prepare, maybe if they have anything to ask.
Thank you very much, Chairman. PS, thank you for that presentation. My question would be, the first one is on page 4, National Registration Bureau subprogram. Looking at what you see as the achievement, what this committee is looking at, you also rolled out what you call mobile platforms. Do you tell us the success? How much has it been able to achieve in terms of getting Kenyans new registration? And what is the cost implication? My second question is on the issue of the revenue you generate. In the last in the last 3 years or so, we expected actually this department not to collect less than 20 or 30 billion, unless maybe you are underreporting. How comes that you are just collecting 50, and of those, you are retaining 9 in terms of ANA? And then yeah, 9 was returned, you said, to defray expenditure. So basically, you are giving to the taxman only 6 billion. Would that be the case, or is it the expectation of this committee that you should be able to collect more money or raise more revenue than you have reported here? My third question is on the issue of pending bill. On the pending bill, true, that is an X3. It is true, government does not run on cash. So you have contractual obligation. But if you go to number 6, on the specialized material and supplies, I would think some of those include materials for things like passports or hard objects, which you do what you call a long-term sort of purchasing. If you have a pending bill in that area of 3 billion plus, then how would you expect your suppliers who have a contractual obligation to supply you materials in good time? Thank you, Chairman.
Chair, I want to also thank the PS for the presentation which he gave, which was excellent and precise, and I want to commend him. Chair, you remember in this committee, the most important department we have focused was on this immigration. And Chair, you remember in the last 2 years, we have had problems with the passports, issuance of passports. I would like to, I don't see the queues around there. I would like to have the status of the current issuance of passports. And if we don't see the people queuing outside there, as long as it was the other years, I think there is something good which is going on. Secondly, Chair, I am also alarmed by the pending bills. If you look at number 5, status of pending bills, out of 6.2 billion, 5.8 billion arose from the expenditure in the year 2024-2025. And if you look at the previous year, the pending bill was 396,995 in the previous year. So what is it? This raises a lot of issues because it's too high. I mean, 6.5, 5.5 is only for 1 year. I think we need to understand, because pending bill is one of the major problems in this country. I need to understand how that expenditure was arrived at. Number 3, Chair, I want to also raise the issue of the recent pronouncement by government that we are going to issue free IDs. And I think the president himself pronounced himself on that one. And then the Minister for Internal Security also has made a pronouncement. I think it's a very good move. People are very happy about the pronouncement. I would like to hear what the budget implication is. I mean, how much was affected in the budget? Because if you are going to issue free IDs, then I'm very sure there must be some financial implication. The last one, Chair, is about we are discussing about the issue of ID card issuance to school leavers. And I think we discussed and said that the best time to issue ID cards was around this time. when the students are almost finishing their examination. I don't know how far you have gone on this. Are you issuing ID cards now to these people so that you have easier time when it comes to the students who are leaving school? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. I can say consulting with Anjao. Maybe I can add one or two so that you respond to all of them and probably take the last round from members. I've got about 3 or 4, and you can add to what members had already asked. I think the vice chair had earlier asked about the A&A. And your A&A, as per now, stands at 9.3 billion. Against the money declared that you collect, which stands at 15 billion, translating to 60%. Isn't it so? Yes? Should be so. And of course, I know you are new in the State Department, but Parliament had proposed an A&A of 20%. So maybe in your own opinion, what are the occasion or the drivers of such very high increase of A&A from the proposed 20%, which now stand at 60%? What are the drivers of the same? I think it is also, that was earlier asked by the Vice, I'm just but addressing. Now question number 2, the State Department has been incurring kind of having pending bills year in, year out. Maybe you can also explain more what could be leading to this. And there is even a bill, you had mentioned of a bill of specialized materials of 3.5 billion. And on the same, I remember last time, maybe the director, eCitizen, may confirm this. Last time when we were doing our estimates, I think it was your opinion that specialized material or fast-moving material supposed not to be featuring as development, but rather in recurrent. Unless you convince us otherwise, we are strongly believing that fast-moving materials, like these specialized materials, passport and the rest, they're supposed to be really not like development, but largely recurrent. It could really be an issue to try to cheat the system that at least, this percentage is going into development, but not recurrent. The other issue, I think somebody had mentioned about the civil registration. And I've seen from your report, you had talked about you had opened 25 new centers. And I don't know whether I'm seeing director civil registration. I'm not seeing. I probably is among the senior directors. You talked about that in Mombasa. But it appears in the country, this committee, at least they have crisscrossed and traveled in the issue of NRB, and the director Wanjau is here. We have got a lot of centers across the country of NRB as opposed to civil registration. The percentage of civil registration in the country should be very low. And I remember there is even a bill being sponsored by Martha Wangari, actually proposing that it should be a standard practice that we should have civil registration in every sub-county. And we have been having appears as an outcry in the country that mothers have to travel several kilometers to county's headquarters to obtain very crucial, important document like birth certificate, costing them a lot of money. As much as I appreciate the 25, I remember this committee also allocated some money to hire the personnel, some civil registration, so that we can increase the capacity and try to at least improve. Maybe you can shed more light. Having opened the 25, what is the gap now? And what is the plan of the ministry, State Department, to addressing the same? Still on the issue of NRB, I've seen that you reported that in the issue of, this civil registration again. You talked about 79%. As much as 79% look good, but to me, I'm sure we should be talking about 99 because apart from probably unreported births that is happening in the bush or whatever, we should be capturing the highest number, at least, of Kenyans. Lastly, maybe we have the issue of the passports. I think Sigei had mentioned about passport. It's a big improvement from what was there before. We don't see the very long queues. And you had reported that you had achieved 514. But according to the program-based budget that was passed by the same house here, your target was 2 million. And if it is 2 million and you are doing about 500, you actually a quarter. What could be the results? And of course, I know we bought the passport printers. You have got the highest A in A. Why are we still so much below the target of 2 million? Maybe lastly, I've got also a bit of something. We had the president, of course, directing the removal or relaxation to relax the vetting of unnecessary vetting of IDs in northeastern and majority of border counties. What is the results look like? The effect, the positive effect of that proclamation or that pronouncement in terms of uptake of the IDs in those counties. I don't know that I don't think there's so many you can take. So you respond to the four. From the four of us, then we take the last round.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Starting with the Vice Chair's questions. Yes, I would want to say that with the introduction of what we call live capture equipment, live capture machines, in the last 3 weeks, almost 1 month, we did buy 50 live capture equipment machines, and we project to have received another 250 live capture equipment by the end of the year, by December, so that we can deploy more of this equipment. Chair, what this has done is that it has increased on efficiencies because it is a one-stop equipment which takes the fingerprints, we type in the information about the applicant, it takes the photo, we scan the documents and upload into the live capture equipment. Once it is submitted, we submit it to the headquarters, where our teams will just verify information and release to the printer. So this, I can say, has substantially and in a big way been able to make a huge difference in the way that we generate IDs. Chair, I would want to mention that we did use one of the constituencies of the county of the Vice Chair in Marsabit to test this equipment. And we can say for sure that it reduces on logistics of bringing in the papers from wherever it is that we are doing up to here. So one is that it reduces on paperwork. But Chair, it also has a flip side, the other side, because it increases on logistics. Because you move to where the customer is. So in terms of mobility, in terms of logistics, it will for sure increase the cost of logistics. But it reduces the cost of paper, and that in itself, and the efficiency that it brings in, it has made it possible for us, like here in Nairobi, if this is done in the morning, if your data is picked in the morning, and the verification is done, you can get your ID within a day. That is what it means. For counties out of Nairobi, because of logistics of sending them back to where they came from, within 3 to 7 days, we can be able to get our IDs. At some point, I will ask Wanjao to give us the numbers that we got in Marsabit when we did the first pilot. We are running it now in Turkana, West Pokot, Baringo, and Elgeyo Marakwet. In the last 10 days we were there. We had disruptions when we lost the Prime Minister, and it slowed down the process. But when we see the performance, we got more than 40% of our target, notwithstanding the disruption that was there. So I can say for sure that this live capture equipment is the way to go. It will reduce all the supplies that you are seeing, the 3.5 billion that we get in terms of paper, in terms of ink, in terms of cameras that we use out there. So going into the future, then the cost that we are incurring in some of the supplies is what we shall be able to apply in logistics and mobility. So, Chair, going into the future, we've been out in the last 2 days. I was in Kwale, and yesterday I was in Taita Taveta, where we met the chiefs to sensitize them in this future of live capture, and telling them that we shall be doing intensive mobile registration, so that when we say we are in Taita Taveta, then we deploy maybe 50 live capture equipment for up to 10 days, finish with a county, and be able to move on, and we can easily be able to deal with what we have been, the backlogs that have been there in some of these counties which were disadvantaged. On revenue generation, Chair, I think one thing that we need to know is that our critical revenue generation areas are in areas like registration of births and deaths. They are in immigration, mainly the e-visa, the ETA. ETA is our biggest revenue area. In fact, for the last financial year, we collected almost 5 billion shillings on that single item. But, Chair, we also need to appreciate the dynamics that we have been doing on the diplomatic front in terms of what we are doing as a country and our relationship with other countries. We all know that now ETA is free to Africa and African countries. That will have a huge impact on the revenue that we are collecting, because all people who come within the African states into this country will not pay ETA. There are also countries where we have had reciprocal engagements and relationship. So as some of these things, they will be balance offs, but ETA will still be our biggest area. On passport fees, this will still continue to be there, and it is sometimes it may impact on what we are doing. You saw we projected to issue 2 million passports. Our biggest driver was the assumption that with the Kasim-Ajou that we are doing in Ministry of Labor, in TVET institutions, then there would be increased demand for our passports and the issuance of passports. But from the beginning of this year, we are seeing the numbers are going up. And therefore, we shall for sure be able to attain an higher number. It may not be 2 million, but it will for sure be going up. And, Chair, again, we are migrating to the third generation passport, beginning most likely in the beginning of the year.
Maybe before you move to that, maybe just clarify a little bit that bit, because it's still the same State Department that projected in the program-based budget, the 2 million. Of course, we know there was a policy shift where, of course, the country is focusing in labor export. But no, PS 500 against 2 million is a big gap. You know, the gap is big. Is it that the anticipated number of Kenyans going outside was overestimated? Is it that, of course, maybe probably the ministry is slow in processing? I mean, there must be something. The variance is very big, PS. Daktari?
Thank you, Chair. I think so that I don't become speculative, it will only be fair if, Chair, I know I will be able to submit some of the information going forward. If you can give us time, maybe up to early part of next week, then we can give a fair analysis of the beacons that we used to do the projections and the realities that we achieved. So one of the things that
Or
I know...
maybe the director will have an answer to that, I don't know, through your boss. Okay, if you can shed more light on that. Yeah, it's a very important critical component and of course an indicator.
I will do that, Chair, and also appreciating the fact that without being preemptive on what we shall give, appreciating that within that 2024-2025, the beginning part of that year is part of the time that we were having challenges in printing and production, but we shall be able to give a fair analysis of what happened. On A&A, Chair, I was trying to give the fact that most of the items that brings us revenue, the biggest one is ETA, and we have to appreciate the dynamics, as I say, when there are some of those trade-offs between us attracting in tourists and persons to visit this country, and therefore sometimes giving waivers, and the impact of some of those waivers in our revenue. On work permits, we also balance between ensuring that we retain jobs for Kenyans while we bring in expertise. So all these things, Chair, has an impact on the type of A&A. Though we need to appreciate that we facilitate A&As in other state departments and in other MDAs. And as you are aware, Chair, we collect on average almost R1 billion. We facilitate collection of almost R1 billion through the e-citizen system for government generally. So being a facilitator of that type of collection, we've collected more than 550 billion shillings through the machinery of the e-citizen. It may not be A&A to us, it is A&A to other institutions, but we play the role of ensuring efficiency in that service delivery and supporting government to increase A&As in other MDAs. So, Chair, we see from that background and therefore the role that we play, though we don't ask for any retention for what we do for government, in the spirit of delivering as one in government.
To have probably be paid something, retainer.
Yeah, so in the spirit of delivering as one, we appreciate that we are supporting government deliver service. On the specialized materials and the bending bill, Chair, I want to mention one thing, that one of our biggest challenges that we have, this huge, mainly on the specialized materials, is an historical issue. Chair, there was one time when the government rolled out what we call Huduma number. And in that time, when they rolled out Huduma number, exchequer resources for procurement of specialized materials was not released to the NRB at that particular time. And yet IDs, we continued producing IDs and resources were not released in the belief that the Huduma number will be released. So what we are doing is what we call a rollover. Out of that historical, every time, first we pay for what we used in the previous year, yet we must produce 2 to 3 million IDs in the current year, which we cannot stop. So it is that we are rolling over these resources every time we inherit what was for the previous year, but still make sure that we issue Kenyans IDs in the current year. So until that time when we are able to deal decisively with that historical issue, then these rollovers will still be reflecting this particular huge bill, because we shall use the the resources now as fast charge to make sure that what we used last year is paid. Yet we must continue to give service this year. So it is something that, Chair, we hope to deal with. We've been engaging with ourselves. I know we've even engaged
So I help
with
you
this
on that.
committee.
It's inherited
Yes.
debts that has become a vicious circle, year in, year out. Yeah. So do you think probably, of course, it's hampering success because it keeps you always having an adept books.
I can say, Chair, it is going to be worse next year when we report pending bills. Because as I answered the question from Honorable Ambassador Sikei, is on that pending bill is what I've said. But again, you know, trying to make sure that no Kenyan is left without identification, we waived the 300 shillings that we were paying for not previously registered. I think today we have issued, the minister has issued a cassette notice following guidance that we also waive the 1,000 shillings that we've been charging on replacement. What that means is that there will be a huge influx of people asking for replacement of IDs. And if you have to replace IDs, then you have to get materials. So we see a situation where we may replace more than 2 million IDs, issue almost 3 million IDs in the normal issuance. So in the year, we might be able to give out up to 5 million IDs, and that will have a huge impact on the budget and the resources that we have. So it is good for Kenyans, and it is good for all of us that nobody is left without identification. We did this mobile thing in Tiati in the last 2 weeks, and when you see the number of people coming out for these IDs, then you realize that there are so many Kenyans who for very many years have been left out. And when we add in now replacement, then the pressure will be quite substantial.
Chair, I was asking that question because I wanted you to tell us your projection, because you can anticipate that you are going to have issuance of IDs waived, and I was asking for the financial implication. I would like to know maybe by next year what could be your projection, because you see, you will know that the financial implication, but the budgetary issues will be a problem. So what are your projections in that area?
Thank you, Chair. I think so that, again, we give fair projections, then we shall supply this information to this committee. But it has a double impact, an inverse impact, because last year we collected 600 million out of the charges that we were putting in for replacement. So what that happens is that that particular A that we had projected will not be there, yet the demand for IDs will go up, and therefore the cost. A quick indication is that we may issue up to 6 million IDs this year, both for replacement. We were projecting to issue 3 million IDs for persons applying for the first time. Now, usually when such times come, the number of replacement would almost be the same number. So we are projecting almost 6 million IDs. It will cost us almost 4.2 billion shillings, because on average, the cost of the card alone is around 400 shillings, plus the other added costs. It brings in around 700 shillings to issue an ID. So we look at almost 4.2 billion shillings. So these are things which we shall come back, Chair, with a proper analysis as we project into our first supplementary later in the year.
Chair, just a rejoinder on the same. I'm concerned about statistics. You are basing your 3 million. Is it from the Kenya Bureau of Standards, our statistics, or from where? Because in Kenya we are having a problem of numbers being floated, but they are not backed up by fact. And at the end of the day, or next year, same times, we'll say, no, we were projecting to register 3 million new issuance, and then we have registered only 1 million. Your projection is based on what?
Chair, it is generally based on the demand. Last year, we did 2 I gave a figure of 2.176 IDs issued. And from historical, as you go towards an election year, the demand for identification usually goes up. I think, as I said earlier, it is only fair that we bring in statistics based on evidence. So by next week, we shall be able to bring in numbers based on evidence so that we don't become speculative. We are just giving an indication. We've not given the numbers.
Because, Chair, how I wish the status of our country, we have the registration of births. Those who were born in such a time, we should have that indicators that those who will be turning 18 this year should be averagely this number. Those who lost their IDs based on their reporting, the OBs that I've lost my ID, but maybe I was not, we should have that thing. If we go that road, we will be doing a budget and projection which are realistic. Because we are getting a lot of problem with the budgeting. I'm in the budget committee, that's why I'm very specific about that, where somebody gives you a number, when next year you'll be going through what you are projected, they are very far apart from the reality. So moving forward, PS, it is important you liaise with the relevant offices, like Register of Persons, so that you can project. I believe some were born, some died, some have not applied. Those who lost the ID, you can get it through that now. We have digital OBs. You are able to project how many people have reported the loss of their IDs. Then we move forward in a way that can guide us I think that's just a suggestion in a proper way. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We acknowledge and take that advice as we move forward. But our projections are based on the 2019 population census, and on the numbers that attain 18 years, we can almost project them precisely. But I can tell you that out there are so many Kenyans who are above 18 and they have never taken IDs. In 15 counties, which were mainly affected by vetting, and we can share numbers when we come back on what happened when we did this in Tiati and Moyale. You can realize that so many Kenyans have been excluded from identity for a very long time. But we shall be able to bring in numbers based on evidence. On the school registration, Chair, we did the school registration between June and August. And those who are attained 18 years and above, we were able to register 500,000, which was almost 79% of those who have attained the age that we required of them. But going into the future, we shall spread it more. We shall start from January, and with the live capture equipment now, it will be even faster, and we shall be able to get more numbers. But the future is in getting as many of these people from schools as possible, because I can tell you from where the vice chair comes from, if a kid is in Marsabit High School and they come from Loyangalani, if they don't get an ID in school, it will be very difficult for them to go looking for that ID. More so if they have no progression to the next level of learning. So the future is in school registration. And we shall work with ourselves and this committee to ensure that this happens going into the future. On what the chair asked, I think most of the things we have already said in terms of ETA and the impact of the free ETS from Africa and reciprocals on our revenues. On the need for us to transfer some of the expenses that we have categorized as development instead of recurrent. We had engagement with Treasury, and it has an impact on our overall fiscal engagements. So we cannot really make that decision as a State Department ourselves, because it will have an impact on the overall budgets in terms of the way we spread the various development, recurrent. So we are still in discussion. And
is it a way to achieve the 30% requirement in the categorization of development?
Part of it is historical, and as we deal with the historical issues, we are in engagement with Treasury.
Okay.
Yeah. Civil registration and officers. Chair, I've been engaging with my officers. I know I'm fairly new in the department, and I've told my team that registration is registration. You are either registered at birth, you are registered at maturity, or you are registered as you exceed at death, or you are registered for international travel by getting a passport. And that as much as is possible going into the future, anywhere in this country where we have an either office, where we have a civil registration office, then we should bring in national registration officers into that office, because it's a single office for registration. And if we have officers across the country on national registration and ID issuance, then we should have an equal number of civil registration officers, because it is about registration. It is either civil or national registration as IDs, and they should be operating from a single office, because it is about registration. So going forward, any place that we have a national registration office will have civil registration officers to do civil registration. Where we have a civil registration office and we do not have an ID registration office, then we shall have officers from the ID registration in that civil registration office, so that we have a single registration office, which takes care of both. So going into the future, we should be dealing with registration and identification. And identification is either at birth or at maturity. And at maturity, for you to register, you require civil registration, which is the birth certificate. And sometimes you get us sending our staff, sending our customers who are Kenyans from one corner of town to go and verify one of the documents we require for registration. We shall be engaging with this committee as part of participation to see how we converge these offices, so that once an office is there for one of them, then it should accommodate all of them in terms of service that is provided. And Chair, the other thing which I wanted also to say is that more than 90% of births in this country are done in hospitals. And if 90% of births are done in hospitals, we have just finished a pilot at Bomwani Hospital on what we call e-notification, so that when a child is born, then we do an electronic notification of that birth. And once we have an e-notification, then you can generate the certificate of birth in any part of wherever you are. So we are testing the e-notification system, so that is where we should be going. By the time the mother leaves the hospital, then the e-notification will have been done, which is linked up to our system at the civil registration, and you can generate that particular certificate for yourself. The same is that a majority of the deaths happen in hospitals. So we shall also be doing the e-notification of deaths, and it makes it possible for you to generate the death notification and therefore the death certificate into the future. So this is what we are testing. Once we do this, then, and look mainly working with our teams from the legal aspect to ensure that whatever it is that we are doing is within the law, and which we think it is, because you are just converting the manual notification into an electronic notification and doing this at the place of birth, which 90% of them are in the hospital, then it will ease the pressure of late registration of births. We have run a test, we are checking at the results, and then we shall roll out the e-notification of births as a start, as we also look into it in issues of death. But e-notification for births is where to go into the future.
I want you, please, just on that one, I think we are all in agreement that we should integrate or make kind of a holistic supermarket kind of a service, where we should have a desk for birth at the same time for IDs in a simple one-stop shop. And leveraging on the technology, Bana PS, which one is even more costly in terms of cost implication? Is it the IDs or birth certificate and death certificate? In terms of even of cost, production cost.
Essentially, Chair, when producing a birth certificate is the cheapest in them all. But what we are doing now, Chair, and we shall come and take this committee, maybe in a different environment, not in a committee sitting like this, is what we are now doing in what we call unique UPI, a unique personal identifier generator. So we are generating it now at path. You get your UPI at path, and that UPI will convert itself into your ID at maturity. So that is what we are doing now.
There.
Yeah, we've done 4 million of them.
Yeah.
As at now, and it is working. And this is the future of what we want to do. Yeah.
In this, and I think we should be keen on this. We have even a bill in Parliament trying to force or make it mandatory for the State Department to be registering Form 4 leavers or students at school when they're exiting. Just the way you say. 2, that is mandatory to have civil registration in every sub-county. Because it has been noted, and you're not even responded, maybe probably don't have the figures, the variance or the kind of disparity. As much as we have a problem with NRB, we don't have enough as well, but we are worst in civil registration. And maybe what you should have done, PS, maybe next time, I hope maybe we could be meeting in BPS or I don't know, supplementary one, I don't know. Maybe do the costing in the entire country. How much does it cost you to have, at least as a starting point, civil registration office in every NRB office? I'm sure it is very negligible, and I think even as members it is very little. We have already have at least about, was it 300 and so civil registration in the last year? It is very little. And we are denying Kenyan services unnecessarily for something which cost extremely too small. So maybe when we meet for supplementary one, kindly try to factor as a committee, we should be able to help also in that space. So that as we move, we make progress in IDs, we make the same in the issue of birth and death certificates. I appreciate the issue of your UPI as well. But before we get in there, let's already do good progress with what is with us.
Chair, on the same note, if you can use the policy of shared resources, like in Suna West, we don't have a civil registrar, but in Suna East there is one. I was trying to check on what is happening. At times in that office, in a day, they register 5 to 6 people. Yet, Suna West is just few kilometers from where they are. If there can be a policy where in a neighboring sub-county where there is no civil registrar, but there is a registrar of persons, they can do their rotation that on such and such a day, this officer will be in that constituency to work for those people. Then it is known the cost implication is not much, because it's a matter of a vehicle taking officers to that office which is existing, and the community also are aware that every Wednesdays or every Tuesdays these people are coming to our place. The chiefs informs people, then they be prepared. It can help a lot.
Yes, I don't want to really emphasize on it, but you know Narok. Let me give an example of Narok. Somebody in Sogo, actually, or the far end, next even to your home, they have to travel to Olulunga in an extremely very hard condition, with no roads, to get a birth certificate, costing that poor mama to sell the goat to get a birth certificate. And nowadays even, there must be a birth certificate even for the production of whether, for the kids. So we are causing poverty to Kenyans unnecessarily, surely. So please, with the little resources, let's try to adopt the sharing of resources. Deploy some officers to be sitting where NRB are, to be just given a small corner as we think around where to get money. Yes.
Chair, it is what we must do. And I can confirm that when we were in Kwale on the day before yesterday, we realized that Kwale has 6 sub-counties. In the 6 sub-counties, in every of those sub-counties, they have a registrar of persons. But only in 3 sub-counties, they have civil registrars. And we told them for sure, there is no need for us not to have in the other offices. Even personnel are the same people. They register persons only at different ages. Maybe it is only, as he's saying, paperwork and documents that they need, and some basic information to be able to run the 2 services, even without getting an additional member of staff. So this we shall deal with, Chair. Yeah. On the last one that you asked, Chair, was on the impact of vetting. I can tell you that there are so many, it has really impacted negatively on so many Kenyans. When you check at all of that, and there are some places people don't relate to vetting. We were in Homa Bay, which is also a border county. And you get people of up to 40, 50 years who do not have IDs because of the same challenges. Because sometimes we think that this vetting thing only affected certain regions of the country. But it generally affected all the border counties. As in Kwale, it is so huge in Kwale, it is even worse in Taita Taveta, between Tanzania and Kenya. Because of intermarriages, you get a lady with children, the mother has no ID, the children have IDs. So it has had a huge impact in terms of leaving nobody behind in terms of these cross-border issues. And the best people to identify who is a Kenyan really was not a vetting committee. It is the chief, because the chief know their persons. And we've even given them more responsibility because they use their thumbprint to confirm. And nobody will deny that it was not me who confirmed, because we don't share thumbprints. So it is more authentic now with the chief than even it was with those committees those days. And we expect more Kenyans who have been disadvantaged previously to be able to acquire these very vital documents. And I don't want to explain why they need them. SHA is here, Bomayangu is here, Higher Education Loans Board is here. All these things, people have suffered for quite some time. So it increases safety and security in our country, because it is better when you know people who are in the country than when you don't know. By taking their fingerprints and all the other things, then it will sort out so many of our problems. Chair, we shall give feedback why there is that huge mismatch between what we projected as issuance of or passports and what the actuals are. This one we shall bring in a detailed report on the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have really attempted to respond to the raised questions. So I don't know whether we still have
I just have a request.
Is it a request or a question?
It's a request. I'm requesting the PS to visit Migori County. Migori County is very unique. We have Koreans who are Tanzanians. We have Koreans who are Kenyans. We have Luo who are Kenyans. We have Luos who are Tanzanians. We have Subas who are Kenyans. We have Subas who are Tanzanian. Actually, you will find out somewhere the dad house is in Tanzania. The sons have done their houses in Kenya. So when you come to vetting, it brings a lot of issues. We have so many people along that belt who do not have ID, and they don't even anticipate to get it one day, unless the issue is sorted out well. Because they intermarry, and somebody is having one wife in Kenya, another wife in Tanzania. Somebody is having another one. It's a very big challenge for the Migori County belt. So one day visit and get these facts, then you see how you can help our people.
I think, Mheshimiwa Masara, I think he had really addressed that the problem is across all the border counties, including Migori, definitely. And of course, the issue of marrying this, even probably him, the honorable member, is married from both. So he's speaking to association and also familiar to himself. So that was a request. I think it was not a request, rather. I think it's just you notified so that you make consideration. So maybe, because I know it's one, and I think we had agreed that we are not keeping you for too long. We are going to take one question from Liz Chelule and probably wrap up.
Thank you, Chair. On issues, my question is on issues of registration, and I want to speak about the women. In some other cases, women are not, in some other customs, women are not supposed to, they are, every time, their application is not, they are not allowed to go and apply in some other ethnicity. And I'm worried, the way you've said that, there is a challenge that you came across, that children are more easier to be registered than their mother. Why so? You came across a mother who has got children, but herself, she doesn't have what? She doesn't have ID. What is the reason?
Thank you, Chair. I think, as already mentioned, and I'm not being fair to the Vice Chair, because we went to East County, and some of these disparities came out very clearly. You get an old lady of 60 years without an ID. Most of them, I can tell you, is that some feared vetting. Going before that vetting committee, and you have been told the composition of the vetting committee. So many of them were reluctant in going into those committees. But the children, because they have gone to school, found it easier to go to those committees and explain themselves. And now that we have ceased this vetting, it will sort out some of these historical issues. I can say that for sure. And on a member I know he has walked out from Migori, I want to assure him that we've been going around. I'll prioritize going to Migori to meet the chiefs and others so that we can be able to explain and sort out some of these challenges.
Maybe, Chairman, I just want to say something on that registration. I want to thank Secretary Wanjao, and I want to agree with what the PS is saying here. The problem in Kenya for a very long time, the issue of civil registration and also giving people important documents such as IDs, when not just going to the border counties, but particularly in the pastoral areas, the penetration is just less than 40%, where people queue, wait, and they give up. So you'll find people in their 50s, in their 60s, they don't have ID cards. And what we notice in places like Marsabit, when you are registering people for hunger safety net program, that is being is a joint venture between the World Bank and the Kenya government. People in their 70s cannot access that fund because they don't have ID cards. So for that reason, I think going forward, what we want to request as a committee, this idea of mobile should not be a one-off thing. It should be a sustained program so that as many as possible Kenyans must have those important documents in their hands, so that when it comes to registration for SHA, if you don't have an ID card, of course you will not be registered. Where will you be registered? Youngsters want to join the university or colleges. They don't have ID cards. They cannot access higher education loans program. So there are many, many things that is coming to light with the current venture that is being undertaken by this government. And it is important and it must be sustained. Thank you, Chairman.
So thank you so much, PS and your team and colleague members. I think this one should bring us to an end. And I want to guide as follows. One, there are some issues, PS, that you had alluded that because of the lack of your technical team, because of what is happening in Mombasa with the National Treasury, you can still be a bit conscious with those details. Maybe by Tuesday, will you be in a position to? So you will liaise with, your team will liaise with our budget officer so that the issues that we've picked that we needed a little bit more detail, you can able to be of course clarified too, so that we can able to get in time so that we compile before we compile our report. So with this and time being 1 p.m., I want to declare that the meeting is officially adjourned and we meet next week. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best.